Now for me, in the winter time, there's a little method of hit down here at Weston pools, which I think is a deadly tactic, especially on this pool here, the weir pool. Now, I haven't done much of it myself, so what we're going to do, get a few of these on, get stuck on the box and just have a little fish, see how we catch, and just get a little bit better in a maggot feeder, because I feel like that is going to be, when the lake's full, you've got a few winter leaves coming up here, then windy days and blustery days in the winter, when the fish sit out in the middle of the lake, I think these are a deadly tactic. And I've seen it over the years where people have caught a lot of fish, and I don't feel left behind because I don't really know what I'm doing on it, but I just feel like the best thing to do is get out on the bank, give it a little go, see how we get on. I'll show you the little setup I've gone, things I'm going to try, down to hook lengths, sizes of feeder, where we're chucking it, how we're going about it. So enough of that, let's get stuck on the box. Now what peg we're going on is this one. Now I really think this is important. If you look at the lake in the winter time, I feel like the middle of the lake is going to be the best bit. Now obviously we've got a lot of room today, there's no one on the lake other than us, but I think that hinders you, as where when it's in a match situation, when every peg's in down here and around here, I feel like the fish push to the biggest area they can. So when you're looking at your matches or your pleasure session, or say if you're going on a rover, or you just want a nice day's fishing in the afternoon, like it's quite a nice day today, not blustery, just nice and still, I've gone in the middle of the lake, there's an area here, middle of the lake, we're going to catch a few F1s, so let's go. Now for the setup for this, can't be any simpler. I've literally got a Superior Super like 10 foot. Now this is a nice light rod, because I'm going to catch anything today from like small little eyed F1s, little stocky F1s, little stocky carp. I could even hook a big 10-pounder. Now this rod's going to let me get everything out. Now the reason why I picked 10 foot is just because I'm not chucking too far. I'm not trying to punch it into the oblivion, and probably chucking it like 20 metres behind me. So nice and simple. Then matched up with a Centris, just £6 line on there. I think it's a 4000 version. Just dead simple, £6 line, not too heavy, and I don't want it too light because I don't want to break off. Now the tip size I've got in the end is a 1 ounce, just because I feel I don't want it too tight, so when I'm pulling my feed I'm going to drag it away all the time. Now I don't want it too soft where I'm having too much of a bend in my tip. We've been fishing for a little bit, and it's one of the noticeable things I've already noticed on there. So setup wise, it couldn't be any simpler. I've just literally got a maggot feeder, or an open end cap feeder as he called them. Literally swivel on the line, just a waggler swivel. Then I've got a stops, I can never say that properly, but a waggler stops. That's a medium size, so that just sits against it nicely. And then you see this little section here, that's just a tiny twizzle boom. Now this just allows me, when the hook length kicks off like so, oh, try and hold it up, you can see there it just kicks away from the feeder, and it just rests there. It's not going to tangle up in any of the swivels in there, get tangled up and stuff. So when you're feathering in your feed, it's really important, just it's nice little twizzled loop. And then literally I've been playing around the hook length. Now I've just got 12 inches there, so it's probably about 16 inches in length, the whole hook length from the feeder, but I've just got 12 inches from the bottom of the feeder, and that is, I've been playing around with it, fluorocarbon. Now I've got 0.14, because I'm catching fish from all sizes, I just feel like an 0.14 is a nice range. If I was catching a few bigger fish, I might step up to an 0.16 or an 0.18 sort of version, but the idea of this is it's got a little bit more give, so when it comes down it's a lot more stiffer, so when it'll fall a little bit further away from the feeder, so it gives me that edge of picking up your bait. So that's just literally 0.14 fluorocarbon down to a dead simple, I think I've got the hook bracket in my pocket, I think, dead simple SFL 16, just simple hook, 2 maggots, 3 maggots on that, nice and simple. If I was fishing a few more I'd probably put a 14 on, but it's a nice like gauge. If I was fishing for a lot of carp I'd probably use a GPM, but because we're fishing for a lot, like a few eyed F1s, stocky fish today, just getting some bites, just got an SFL 16. So dead simple setup, just a little link on the line, stop there, twizzle boom, hook length to range. You can have a long one, short one, I just like 12 inch at the minute, having a little play around with it. And then feeder size, just got a medium feeder, that's a 15 gram. There is a small one for them harder days, but I found they wanted a little bit of grub at the minute when we've been fishing, so whack the big one on. So enough of that, let's get stuck into some fishing. Right, so where I've chose to fish today, I'm actually set on peg 16. Now, like I said before in the little intro, it's in the middle of the lake, ideal place to be. You're going to get the most fish in the winter time. Don't get me wrong, sometimes the fish drift up to the top end, sometimes you drift up to the top end up there, depending on the weather situation. But for actual, if you're coming on your pleasure session, or picking in the rover, or if you drew in the middle, then that's going to be one of the best places to catch them. Now, it couldn't be dead simple. I'm just literally putting 2 maggots on, 2 red maggots on. Now, I said before, we'd had a little fish before just to get some bait in the peg. Now, the thing with the maggot feed, I feel like you have to be quite consistent with it. You have to keep plopping it around, keep plopping it, not around, sorry, keep plopping it in the same hole, keep building that bait up on the bottom. It's literally like fishing a pole, just a little bit further in the lake. So all they got is the medium-sized feeder, literally filling it, cap on. Now, to keep the maggots in a little bit longer, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a dunk so it just sucks them maggots in. Now, one thing I want to do is hit the clip quite soft, just everything in the line. So try and get it when you're fishing with your rods and with your clip, trying to get in the same sort of pattern and same process of literally fishing. Now, you have the same, you hit the clip at the same place, you put your rod at the same place, you bring it round, just because it makes it nice and easier for you. You're not going to be all over the place, that's just be nice and accurate. So hit the clip at a certain point, drop it down, make sure the feeders hit the bottom, put it on position, make sure. Now, this has been its one thing that's really interesting is the tip position. Now, I could either have it quite tight to the tip, but I feel like if a fish grabs it, it might feel the tip. So I've been playing around just because obviously I haven't done much, like I said, and I've just been having it slack, just enough tension. So it's like if a fish picks it up, I'm trying to pick up on the right sort of bite. The last thing I want to do, like that, just pulled my rod in that one. So the last thing I want to do is literally be picking up at the wrong indications and signs. Now, I'm a big believer that I don't mind putting bait in the peg all the time. Oh, that's come off that one. That's not a good start. I'm a big believer of putting bait in all the time in your peg. Gets it going through the water, gets fish attracted. I think like they like the sound of the plop going through the water and just get attracted to the, obviously the feed going in, and you're just drawing fish in all the time to your peg. So I think it's really important. So we try again. That literally ripped the rod off that, but drop the maggot feeder in, just sucks them maggots in, gives you an extra few seconds so they don't spill out all over your head. Hit the clip there, drop it down. So always keep it like 11 o'clock till it hits the bottom. Hit the bottom now, pull it over, just give it a line, a little sink under the water as I'm on the rest. Obviously, because I'm not fishing too far out, it doesn't take too long to sink. That's why it's ideal as well, having a bit of a heavy main line. Now you're seeing that tip was actually slacking, like quite slackened off, and that still pulled the rod in. So they're really aggressive when they feed on this properly. Don't get me wrong, you do get a few taps and pulls, but I just think if you get like a double tap, that's when you sort of want to strike. The last thing you want to do is just striking at little single indications. Don't get me wrong, this time of year, I feel like especially fish are balled up, so you could have a ball of fish move through your swim and just give you a few liners, a few indications. Well, that's quite good because you've got confidence that a fish are in your peg. But see that there, that's on like a double tap. So you can see there now, I've been fishing for 20 odd minutes before this. We've built up a little bit of an area of the peg. Oh, so it's going to be, we're going to catch some fish, but you can see like in a match scenario, if you're in the middle of a lake, you had this all to yourself, you're going to get a load of bites. Just nice, simple fishing, but I feel like I've got Covo's Winter League coming up, and I just feel like this could be a key element to having the armoury. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like I know how to fish the waggle on this lake, how to fish the pole, but if there's them windy days that are coming like this weekend, you feel like catching fish like that on a maggot feed, a dead simple setup, is going to be crucial in your sort of match fishing. But also, you got to remember, it's a great way to get out and get loads of bites as well during the winter months if you want to get some out of your session. So just double maggot on there. Now I like to keep everything, trap the rod under my cheek there, just so it's nice and still when I'm filling up my feeder. Literally pour the maggots in, get it filled to the brim. I do like feeding. Don't be wrong, on them harder days I feel like a few maggots in a small one. Same again, little process, straight out. I'm not punching it too hard. Hit the clip nice, 11 o'clock. Now it's hit the bottom now. On the rest, just give it a little sink. Don't get me wrong, doesn't take long. Like I said, that £6 line just catches up with it. Now what I'm gonna do is tighten down to my feeder and just slacken it off. Just so I've got that nice straight tip. Now I just feel like this is helping me catch. In the early parts, if you've done a lot of this fishing, I feel like you'll understand the bites, but because I've not done a lot of it, I'm just trying to get my own little way of trying to understand what to bite. Now I'm thinking double tap yet. Now if I've got no tension in the tip, the fish can pick my bait up quite freely before it hits that feeder. Now the one thing I want to do is, because you're fishing with maggots on a feed and you hope you're catching feeding fish, it's not like where you're fishing barm with corn and bread where you're catching single individual fish which are a lot bigger. You've got probably a lot of mouths out there. You've probably got eyed, skimmers, F1s, stocky carp. There'd be an odd big carp milling around. There might be some perch in your peg. Now you've got a lot of mouths to feed. That's why I think it's really important with your maggot feeder to be busy, hitting the same spot. Accuracy is key. And just plodding away, keep persevering. And obviously you're going to get a few liners if there's a lot of different fish in your peg. So if you're, like say, you're in the middle of a lake and you'll feel like you're on the main ball of fish, you will get a lot of signs. So picking up at the right bite is really important. That's what's going to make you more efficient, not waste any time. But I feel like you do need to get the bites. No, that's a tap then. I missed that one talking. I feel like it's like a double tap, missed him, which can happen. He's had me maggots as well. Now you can experiment, you can put 2 or 3 on. 2 or 3, even single maggot if it's really, really hard, but I feel like you're chucking to where the fish will be. So double and triple maggot, gonna be ideal scenario. Like I said, dunk it under, swing it back, in line with marker, 11 o'clock, just on the dot there. And imagine you've got a pile of maggots just, I don't even think there'd be a pile there, I think there'd be that many fish eating your bait. So before, it might be better to have a stronger tip, so I'll try and catch one more and then I'll have a play around where I have my tip position. But the last thing I want to do is get like a dun and miss the bite, as I feel like where if I slacken off my tip now, there, and if I get a double tap, I know that fish has picked up the bait and it's pulling against my feeder, and I know I can get down, get into my rod quickly. Like I said before, it's sort of like a busy style of fishing. You're trying to create a little bit of a plot. Now these feeders are only 15 gram, so there's next to no weight in them really. They're not like a 30-40 gram feeder going in every chuck. It's making a nice little plop. It's delivering a few maggots to the bottom. But also it's a lot different to say you're trying to single out, you're not trying to single out a certain size fish, for example, say like a big F1 or so, carp from like 3 to 10 pound, where you would be on bomb and bread. This is where you could be catching some eyed early, suddenly you catch some skimmers on it, then you might catch some F1s, then you might catch an odd road carp. So there's going to be a lot of different fish in your peg, so this just helps you. Like fisheries like this at Weston, they've got a lot of mouths, that's on. Let's pull my rod in that one. They've got a lot of mouths, and then you need to be able to feed them. As where, say if it was a day and I thought, right, I need to catch some carp today, I need to fish a bomb. I'm being too selective, I feel. There's a lot of little fish. These, don't get me wrong, they will eat corn, but they make it a lot harder to catch on a bomb than it would be in a little maggot feeder. Look at this one. There's something about like this time of year, winter time, just winkling out a few bites just on the rod can be brilliant. So nicely in the bottom lip, nice little F1. You can see on these like open water lakes how effective it can be. Now I do feel like the fish, obviously they're just in shoals, probably like 2.5–3 foot deep. swimming round, and you just need to keep chucking, keep persevering, and you will get a few fish in your peg and draw them down to the bottom. Ooh, pull that through. Dunk him down. Said all, just simply keep in the middle of that pallet. 11 o'clock, I'm not moving it, not going over here, I'm not going over there further. Give a little whine just so it reels all the bait in, the line in, sorry. In my little rest. Now you could fish with a longer hook length, but I personally feel I just want to be around that maggots where I am. I want to be as close as I can to that feeder that I can get away with, because I feel like the fish are really eating that bait. Now if you felt like the fish were off bottom a lot, you could put a 2-3 foot hook length on and try and catch them fish. Put a couple of floating maggots on and just make sure you're lingering through the water. But I feel like for the purpose of trying to catch them on the bottom, I want that hook length as close as I can that I can get away with. So I feel like a 12-inch hook length just on the end of that twizzled loop, just below the feeder. It means if the hook bait lands close to my feeder, the fish hasn't got to take too much line to sort of get some bites. What you can find is, say if a fish with a really, really long hook length, it could take a while for the fish to pick up my bait and bolt against the feeder. As where with this, just a little bit shorter, I try and hopefully that fluorocarbon kicks it away slightly, just a little bit of advantage. Obviously you've got the advantage of nearly invisible in the water, so that's only going to help you. But like I said, this time of year, for the fish we're fishing for as well, I don't need your like 019, 021 sort of like lines, and get away with like 014, 016. You've got a nice soft rod in that super light, just dead simple fishing. And it's actually really fun, just nice to be here. Now it's probably better, obviously said before, we're lucky today, there's no one actually here and we're just fishing on the lake, but if you're in the match situations and you're drew in the middle and there's a lot of people, I feel like that's an area you peg. You're in the middle of the lake, you're going to get a lot more fish, you're going to make it easier for your chance to catches. But for sort of like pleasure fishing sessions and getting on the bank, you can't beat getting a few bites. Like I said before, you might have some dull periods like now. We've had a couple of quick fish, we've had a few indications. Like, oh, I think it's solid, but you just got to keep persevering, keep plugging away. You might have 3 or 4 chucks without a fish, but then you've built some bait up on the bottom. So that's indication. Then you built some bait back up on the bottom, you made a bit of noise, you might have drawn some fish back in. Now, one thing I've done in the past here, when there's a lot of new stock fish, which can, this time of year, a lot of fisheries put them in, especially like this, the one's quite unique, open water style fishing. It's just fishing a little cage feed or a tiny little ITM method, just a little bit of supercross, single maggot, you can catch a few fish like that. But because I've done that in the past, I feel I got a lot of confidence in that, but I haven't really done much of this fishing, so I feel I want to get my feeders right, my setup right, and understanding the bite indication. Don't get me wrong, you're going to have bites where they pull the rod in and you're like, yeah, that's on, you're not going to miss that one. But you're going to have times as well where, see that was close to an, I was going to pick up to that then, and just give it like a tiny slow double tap. It's like a dunk dunk I want to look for. You got to imagine the fish has picked up the bait and it's trying to get rid of it. That's what, like the old head shake, that's what you're trying to achieve. But it's not something I do a lot of, this style of feeder fishing. But like I said before, I feel like there's going to be a time and a place, say if on a windy day or you draw the middle of the lake, it's going to get you out of jail in the early parts of the match when the fish are in the middle of the lake. I feel like maggot feeder or a waggler is unbeatable. But like I said before, I feel confident with waggler fishing, so we'll just come down, had a little go, dead simple setup, show you how I've gone about it, how we've gone a little practice, and been getting now. I'm not just going to sit here and wait for it to go round. I've had a few indications. I'm going to wind it back in, straight back out again. And check my hook bait just so it hasn't been damaged. No, it's fine. One thing I like to do is just spin the maggots around away from the hook point, just so it gives me that hook point exposed aspect. Click the maggot feeder on. Try not to hook your leg. Dunk him down, just trap some maggots in, just that little bit longer. Gives you be able to stop them flying above your head. There we go. Like I say, you might have to have a few chucks just to build some bait up on the bottom, and then the fish come back in again. It's not going to expect one of these methods where it just keep chucking it in and wanging round. Don't get me wrong, I reckon there'll be days when it would, but I feel like you got to work it, keep persevering, time your bites times. So, you're going to get some bites quite quickly. Do you have to wait 2 or 3 minutes, or are you waiting 5 or 6 minutes? Now, the harder it is, the probably longer I'd leave it. But I'd still be looking at that 5-minute period, 4 to 5 minutes, keep chucking it every time. If fishing was good, I'd probably say like every 2.5, 3 minutes. Because I feel like when we've had the bites, they've probably been like 1.5 to 2 minutes sort of ranging. Just as a rough guess, I don't know. If you were to time it, I should have really bought a little stopwatch, to be honest. Just to see, just an element of like, of being efficient even a little bit more. Now, one thing I could do, which I've been thinking, is just give it a little twitch, like lift the rod up, move the feeder slightly, give it a little twitch and try and entice a bite that way. But I just had a little indication there, so I'm just going to literally give it a whine. Oh, that one's on actually. Must have timed that perfect. Talk about being lucky. But that's what I mean. Maybe that fish has had that bait in its mouth and I've just not seen the indications. So maybe I do need to put a bit more of a bend in a rod. This is all the little things I'm thinking now. Oh, look at that one. Brand new little ghosty mirror. Lovely little fish, that. Now it's in the top there. Maybe coincidence that, but little ghosty little mirror there. Lovely. But pop in there. We'll just have one more chuck, I think. But see that there, we had a blank spell. We didn't catch anything, and then literally chucked in again. We persevered with it, and we were rewarded with a fish, even though I didn't really see the biting indication. Maybe it was coincidence, but we'll never know. That's the beauty of fishing. But literally filling it up, dunking him down. Nice little like 22 metre chuck. I'm going to put a little bit of a bend in the rod this time. Let's add it on the drop, that's it on the drop. So see this situation now, that could have been a bit better if we were on a longer hook length, but obviously that's the aspect of it. You had a blank chuck and the next minute you've got 2 in 2. So I feel like this is a nice work rate sort of method, but I'm going to carry on. We've had a brilliant day here, some winter sport here on the whirlpool at Weston. Another, oh look at them, shelling peas now these, look at that one. But like I said before, look at that little fish. Nice little weight builders, dead simple setup. Dead simple fishing, just a few maggots, winter time, getting a few bites off some cracking fish like that. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification so you don't miss any future videos.